currently work as a research fellow in cybersecurity, Abertay University, Dundee in Scotland. My research interest is around the usability of cybersecurity technical reports and all of that. By virtue of experience, I did my master's here in the UK in cybersecurity and ethical hacking. And yes, that's why I am passionate about sharing some of the things that I used to successfully go through my master's. I had a distinction in cybersecurity, and yeah, from there I got a job in cybersecurity, and it's been there. So yeah, that's me by briefly introducing myself. Shilbit, Dr. Francis, I think you can take the stage and introduce yourself while the rest of them take a cue from you.
I'm just trying to on my video, and I think it should be on now, right? Okay,
Yeah,
so my
it's
name is Francis Webber. I live in the UK here as well. I did my master's in the UK here like 10 years ago. It was also on scholarship, and then I did my PhD in Portugal. It was on scholarship too, so that was on multiple scholarships as well. So I think that is going to be useful, the discussions that we're going to be having. I understand that some of you, that nearly, I think all of you can proceed to your PhDs as long as you do well. So I think that doing well is key. So pleased to meet you all. Thanks very much.
so my pleasure to have all of you. You're welcome. Today we're talking about academic misconduct. I'm going to be sharing my screen. Can you all see my screen right now?
Yes,
Yes.
from here, yes.
Okay, just give me a second while I take all this off here. That's going to work. Uh, okay, is that clear enough now? So we're doing academic misconduct. Myself and Francis were going. What is academic misconduct? It's any action, whether it's deliberate or unintentional, that undermines the honesty and integrity of the academic process. The key thing to know here is that whether it's deliberate or unintentional, it's not a matter of, oh, I didn't know. You should know. And why do you need this course? Why are we here in the first place? It's because the UK education system upholds academic integrity. They want to be sure that the products of the universities are credible. They don't joke with it. They ensure that everything they do, they abide by the best standards. It's also, you need to know that where we are coming from, where you're coming from, is completely different. The method of education here is different. The standards here are different. A lot of things that you could do in the schools where we all came from, I came from EBSU myself. A lot of the things you could do there, you can no longer do them here. The standards are higher. Then we also need to justify this investment that has been done by the government. You need to make the government proud. And also, you need to have the skills because there are new aspects of academic misconduct that are coming up. Things like LLMs, ChatGPT, and the rest of the LLMs. Yeah. So you need to be aware that some of these things constitute academic misconduct if not well used. So that's why you're here. You want to justify the investment on you. You want to abide by the standards of where you now find yourself. And there are new things that you need to know. This training is going to be like fivefold. There are five things we're going to be looking at as academic misconduct. The first one is plagiarism. For a lot of people that come to the UK, this is the first time this word is making sense to them. This is the first time they are paying attention to the meaning of this word. This is when you use someone else's idea, words, data, aspects of somebody's work without proper acknowledgement or citation. That's plagiarism. That's the first part we're going to be dealing. Then the second part is cheating. That is when you employ unauthorized assistance or resources in exams, tests, or assignments. The third one we're going to be considering is unauthorized collaboration, which is called collusion. That is when you work with someone or a group of people on an assignment that you need to complete solely by yourself, or when you allow others to copy or submit your work as their own. The fourth one is data falsification and fabrication. That's when you manipulate research findings because everyone here is going to be writing a form of research report at the end of their study. And you're meant to use some form of data from your research, from your qualitative or quantitative analysis. Yeah. So falsification, that's when you try to manipulate those results to favor what you're writing. Then the fifth one we'll consider tonight is unethical use of ChatGPT and other large language models. When you use these platforms unethically and you just copy stuff from there, dump it in your Word, and try to submit it. So those are the five things we hope to be able to cover this evening. So let's look at plagiarism, using someone else's words, ideas, or data without proper acknowledgement or citation. This can involve copying text exactly the way it is verbatim. You go to a piece of work, maybe you found it online, and you're trying to write your report or your assessment, and you copy something that somebody has written somewhere and just dump it in your work like that. Or you paraphrase that word without credit. In the academic field, it's assumed, starting with that you do not own any knowledge, that what you know, you were taught by someone, or what you're writing as the result of a knowledge you gained from some reports. So you might even want to paraphrase. Maybe you say, I've understood this thing. You now paraphrase it and write it. You think it's your idea. But the right thing to do is, as you're paraphrasing, you are still making reference to where you got the idea from and you're paraphrasing. Then the third one is submitting work that you purchased or copied from another source. Some people go online and they try to buy research that has been maybe done several years ago in some platforms, or you go to some forums online where certain topics have been treated, and you go there and copy the answers and paste. All these are forms of plagiarism. And by the time you are found with any form of plagiarism in your work, either by omission or by commission, you're already setting yourself up for something unpleasant at the end of the day. So you need to understand all these things. It's not just when you copy something verbatim, even if you paraphrase it, you still need to give credit. In fact, there is if you know you know that when you're writing, there's even a part where you can quote ideas that were sold to you by people. For instance, your friend or a senior colleague tells you something, gives you an idea. It's not yet published, but this is somebody telling you maybe like personal reports, which you can also reference in your research. You should also give credit to every source. This is to ensure academic openness. There is no crime in paraphrasing what somebody has written, but the crime is when you now paraphrase without giving credit to that person. And the fact that you've given credit to the person does not mean that you do not know what you're doing. It doesn't make you less of a person. It doesn't make your work less. It doesn't mean that you're not intelligent. What it means is that you're doing the right thing. So that's plagiarism. Anything that concerns using another person's work, whether in whole, whether in parts, and submitting it as part of your work. Plagiarism. Then the next one is cheating. Cheating is when you use any unauthorized resources or assistance in your exams and your tests or assignments. This can involve, what we call umbo. where we're coming from. Like where students are able to scribble notes, bring them into the exam hall, and try to pass notes around. These things, you may think they don't happen, but people actually try to do those things even when they come over to the UK. So realize that cheating, which is using unauthorized resources, is a form of academic misconduct. Whether you're using your mobile phone when you're not supposed to, whether you're using any form of notes. I know someone, he was my barber sometime. He had issues graduating because he copied the lecturer's notes. He felt, okay, this is the notes I took during class from this lecturer. But in the exam, he copied the lecturer's notes as part of his submission, and he was flagged for plagiarism. Then again, another form of cheating is when you collaborate on works that you're supposed to do alone. In the course of your study, you will see different kinds of assignments. There are some that are group assignments, there are some that are individual assignments. For every individual work that has been stated, it is academic misconduct when you collaborate with other people to work on that particular assessment. Then again, receiving exam answers from peers or online sources. You know how probably you go and look on online forums to see if answers have been given to some of the things that you're now asked in your assessment, and you get those answers from there. That is also a form of cheating. Another one is unauthorized collaboration. It's We have already described it in cheating, but it's important for you to know that this is serious. Working with others on assignments that is meant to be completed independently. And when you permit other people to copy or submit your own work, that is another form of academic misconduct. When you submit a work that you have collaborated with people on, but you try to pass it on as your work, that is academic misconduct. When you're given a take-home assignment and you get home, you're working on this with your guys, with everybody, without permission, that is a form of academic misconduct. Data falsification and fabrication. This particular one is very important that you know it, because it's not just something that is going to affect your master's degree. This is going to affect you going forward in the research industry, because innovation in the world is driven by research. The big products that you have seen in the world, the breakthroughs in science, in every aspect of life, is driven by data that is gotten through research. So this is not just academic misconduct. This is this is basically you cheating the world. This means you try to alter, manipulate, or invent research findings to suit your preferred outcome. For instance, if you're trying to, if you're doing a research on why or whether children prefer mango juice or mango, and you personally think that children prefer mango juice, but you have gone out to probably get your data by interviewing some children and their parents and looking at statistics of sales and the rest of it, and you're seeing that really it looks like children actually prefer the mango as whole. But because you wanted to suit your own conviction, you decide that you're going to change the data. You change the figures. For instance, if you interviewed 50 children and 30 are saying that they prefer mango juice, just so that it will look like what you want to write, you change the numbers and say that, okay, it was 10 children that said this, 10 children said this. You get, just so that the data you have, you're trying to bend it to fit into your idea or what you want to be the outcome. Or You just probably you're supposed to do a research. A lot of students by this time, maybe like in 6 months' time, when you start talking about your projects, you start sending out survey questions to people. You could see someone who is trying to do a research on maybe lawyers, for instance. He needs the population he needs, the participants he needs for his study is lawyers. But because he does not have access to lawyers, or he does not want to go the extra mile to get lawyers, he will send this survey link to just his friends who have no idea of the topic being discussed. And they fill this survey and he passes it on and says he interviewed 50 lawyers, this. I remember when I was doing my dissertation, I had a project that required I was going to talk to lawyers, that I was going to talk to lawyers, yeah, lawyers in the UK. But because of time constraint and the logistics of doing it, it was looking like it was not going to be possible. I spoke to my supervisors, and they approved that I could use students, final year law students in UK universities. And if that was not going to be enough, I could also use law students from my home country, Nigeria, right? So when I was sending out the research, the survey questions, I sent it to a contact of mine who is a renowned lawyer in Nigeria, and he shared it in his local law platform. And I was able to get the population, the survey population that I needed for the survey. And that survey was successful because at the end of the day, that's what got me my job. The result from my dissertation was what got me the recommendation for my job because I tried to go the extra mile to get what I did. So why I'm paying attention to this is because this is one big challenge that's going to face all of us. You're going to decide whether you're going to use the real data or whether you're just going to write up any form of data to make the work look clean. And remember, like I said, innovation in the world is driven by research, by data, which is gotten through research. So that little fabrication you did can lead to let me say, an ill-developed product because they are holding on to a data that is false. So data falsification and fabrication is a form of academic misconduct. Then this one, this is this is the one that's been getting a lot of students in trouble recently with the rise of LLMs like ChatGPT since 2022 when it became a rave and everybody found out about ChatGPT, or a lot of people found out about ChatGPT. Students now see it as the almighty formula. They think that ChatGPT is able to answer every question on every topic on earth. So you see students rely on this to write assessments, to write assignments. And every institution in the UK, every university in the UK is publishing acceptable use policies for ChatGPT and other LLMs. What does this mean? This piece of technology has come to stay and is changing the way teaching and learning happens. But you must use it within the context of the acceptable use policy of your university. You must not copy and paste AI generated responses directly into your essays. And then in some universities, even apart from universities, even in preparing, I'll give you an example. Lawyers now use AI tools like this to prepare their cases. And they've come up with a policy and said that if you use ChatGPT and any other form of LLM to write anything, a substantial part of your work, you should acknowledge the AI tool you used. That's it. when this AI to contribute significantly to your work, you should say, okay, I used Google Bard for this, or I used ChatGPT for this. Another form of a misconduct that you can do with ChatGPT and the rest is when you use this outputs to bypass genuine learning. There's a problem now that is still evolving. You know, these AI tools can be used to write software codes. If you go to GitHub, you now have the AI assisted coding. Yeah. But the problem is that they are saying that it's now allowing coding newbies to generate codes that they cannot explain themselves, such that when there is a problem with that code, they may not be able to rectify it, or they may not be able to spot it. And these LLMs have what we call hallucination. No matter the question you ask, it seems to have an answer for you, but sometimes it's just talking gibberish. So, this is one place that you have to pay attention to. I will tell you that lecturers have access to a scoring system that tells them when you have used a large language model to write, right? And apart from that, from experience, if a lecturer reads a block of text that is written with ChatGPT, he or she will know because the way these LLMs write, they have certain words that they use. They have certain ways that they write. So from experience, if you send me anything that has been written with ChatGPT, I would most likely get it with an accuracy of at least 85%. So there is ethical use of these things, but you need to look at your university policy and see what it stipulates. But as a general guide, these are the things that you most likely find in them that you should not copy directly from these platforms to your work. I will come back to talk about how you can creatively and rightfully use these tools to your advantage because they are tools that have come to stay and they are now making learning easier for a lot of people. So, what are the consequences of academic misconduct? What will happen? What will happen when you are found liable of academic misconduct? Academic misconduct in Nigeria in UK universities are taken very seriously, very seriously. There is no one that you would do and go free for it. There is no lecturer that you can settle. There is no lecturer that you can beg. In fact, if it gets to the point where you are begging, that's the beginning of your woes because your begging means, okay, you have completely accepted you're wrong. And if you accept that wrong like that at that point, definitely you receive the penalty for it. So there are a lot of consequences of academic misconduct. And one of them is failing grades. Like you could fail so certain aspects of your course, maybe you fail a particular subject or a particular element, maybe assessment, you could be failed directly, or you could fail the course entirely. There will be a disciplinary action against you, either by probation, suspension, or expulsion. This is going to pass through several layers of scrutiny and questioning. And at the end of the day, if it's recommended that you be suspended or expelled, that will happen without anybody calling to say, this person is my person, put him back. That is why I say that the climate here is different. You don't pull strings. Hello, can you all hear me? Somebody
Yeah,
tried to say something.
carry on. Just somebody joined and yeah, they were not muted.
Okay, that's fine. So this is not like some of the places where we come from, where you can pull strings and somebody calls the VC and says, "Oh, he's my person," or "I'm from the governor." Nobody is going to receive that phone call on your behalf. You will be punished. If it's for expulsion, you'll be expelled. But then again, loss of scholarships, fellowships, or funding opportunities. I don't know the terms of your scholarship, but most likely, if you are on a UK scholarship or any global scholarship, or even the one you are on, and you are found guilty of any academic misconduct, one of the things that can happen is that your scholarship will be withdrawn, or any funding opportunities that would have come to you will be taken. That's the penalties that you can receive from your institution. Then there are also professional and ethical repercussions for academic misconduct. When students are known to carry out academic misconduct, it tarnishes the reputation and credibility of yourself and of the institution. It will damage your future career prospects and references. When you leave your course at the end of the course, you would have built relationships with lecturers, with professors, and you need these people to be able to get jobs. This is this is very important. You need to know this. So it's important. If you have any form of academic misconduct, it becomes difficult for your professors, for your lecturers to reference you, to recommend you. And because you do not know a lot of people here in the UK, some of the jobs you would apply for, the references would come from your professors and your lecturers. So you need to keep that line intact. That line has to be intact because they'll require a reference from UK reference or home reference. So that line is important. Then also your personal integrity would become questionable within that institution. So you see that the consequences of academic misconduct, there are plenty. And because you can actually sail through without performing any form of academic misconduct, you don't have to get scared about these things because if you do the right thing, you will not get to this point. Okay. So, what are the best practices? What will you now do to not be culpable of academic misconduct? Number one, cite your sources, reference your sources. Anything, any place you get information, make sure to reference it. We will have a course where we'll discuss how to use the reference softwares like Zotero, Mendeley, or RefWorks. All those things are tools that are there. I remember in the university back in the FSU, we didn't have access to such tools. So your reference was belabored. You needed to know how to punctuate, comma before full stop before semicolon. Those things have been made easy by reference management tools. That's like I said, Zotero, Mendeley, RefWorks, and the rest of them. They now make referencing so easy that you don't have any excuse not to reference. And as you're writing, as you're writing, you're referencing at the same time. You don't wait at the end of the day, let me come and reference. It's automatic. Once you're able to turn on the bibliography section, it will automatically arrange everything for you. And if you need to change the referencing style, it also automatically does it for you. So there is no excuse not to properly reference your work. You must cite it in text and at the end of your work. We will get to that maybe one of our classes. So, how to use those software. Then paraphrase correctly. When you're summarizing an idea, try as much as possible to make it your own. Own the knowledge. Own the knowledge. You have read that malaria is caused by mosquitoes. Growing up, all of us know that malaria is caused by mosquitoes. But in academic work, who told you? That is the question. How did you know? So just that simple line, you know it, but you need to show, okay, WHO says this. It makes your work credible. It means that you have done a wide and deep research. You know what you're talking about. So though it sounds like your knowledge because you know it, you were not the person that found it out. So who found it out? Reference that person, even when you're paraphrasing. Manage your time wisely. I think this is what gets a lot of people in trouble because they try to do everything at last minute. They try to rush everything. They leave their work, they leave their schoolwork, they are working to make money, which is purely wise, but it now affects their time for their school such that you have an assessment to submit in 2 weeks' time. You wait for the last 3 days to start. Definitely, you will run into problems because you won't have time to properly look at your work, check if you have referenced properly, and you get yourself in trouble. Like Doc mentioned at the beginning, here in the UK, time, time, time is something that they do not take for granted at all. You see, when they say this is your deadline, that is your deadline. It's automated in the system. It's not the one you say, okay, I'll mail the lecturer and beg. If you have not collected extension, extension is available. You also need to know that some people, why I'm saying this, that some people didn't know that you could ask for extensions in assessments. Extension allows you maybe extra 4 days or 1 week, depending, to finish your work. But for you to ask for an extension, you must ask for it before the deadline of the submission. So check your learning space and find out the extension options you have for each course. It's limited, it's not unlimited. Maybe you have just 3 extensions in the year or 2 extensions in the year. You can use it at any time. Don't be afraid to use it. It doesn't reduce your score. If you're doing a piece of work and you absolutely need to get that extension, instead of submitting an unfinished work, please do get the extension and do your work properly. But like I said, it's not unlimited. You have the number of extensions you can get on each course. So check it properly, know how many extensions you have, and if you need to, please use it. So you also have to use your calendars and planners to stay organized. As a student in the UK, you'll be given access to a lot of Microsoft products, including Microsoft Outlook, which means you are able to drop in placeholders for meetings. You're able to plan the I'm submitting assignments here, I'm submitting assignments. So when you look at your calendar, you already know what to do, and your calendar will send you reminders on what you need to do. You must not let any. One of the mistakes I made when I first came, and I'm passionate about this because it affected me. I came to the UK, I went to class after all the tension that was around there. I didn't even look well to see that I had a deadline and assignment to submit the next week. I traveled to England to see my brother. When I got back, it was on a Tuesday. I was having a discussion with some of my friends, and they were talking about something they had submitted. I was shocked. I didn't even know there was an assignment in the first place, not to talk of the fact that I even submitted. So I was shocked. I just left immediately, tried to get an extension. I couldn't get an extension because the time had passed. But I was given another condition that I could still submit within the 5 days. But for each day, I will lose a certain percentage of my score, my supposed score for each day. So I took the chance. I was able to do the assignment. 3 days later, I lost 1.5 points in that particular section. But yeah, I still passed that particular course. But I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson. Here, nobody's going to give you assignments and be reminding you and telling you, you are submitting tomorrow. Nobody has that time. The time has been put there in your working space. Your MLS or whatever you call it is your learning space. That is where you find all the information you need to know. If you're not the type of person that wants to be using your computer all the time, this is the time to wake up because the instructions they will sound like advice, they will sound like they're not serious about it, but it's really instruction. When they say you have to do this group work on social day, you have to do this assignment on social day, nobody's going to be chasing you again. Everybody will carry on as if you have heard what they have said. So learn how to check your calendar, plan yourself, plan yourself, and then you clarify collaboration rules on every assignment. Always ask, is this assignment personal or is it collaboration? You need to know because you might you might use a collaborative effort to do an individual task. You could say that The lecturer will not know, or the examiner will not know. But if by any means, because of your collaboration, your works now look alike, the works of all the people in the group now look alike, it raises the eyebrow, and then a case of malpractice can be held against you. So these are the things that you need to know. Remember to cite everything, paraphrase with your own words correctly, and importantly, manage your time wisely. You These things take time. I must tell you, don't underestimate any assessment. When you look at it and you think where we're coming from, you could confidently go to Google and copy anything there and paste. In fact, sometimes you submit hard copy, so you are sure that the lecturer does not have any system to check your plagiarism. In fact, sometimes the lecturers, that's where we're coming from, the lecturers don't even care what you wrote. But this one, the system is there already to check it. Make sure that you start on time. It's only when you start before you're able to gauge the effort you need to put to do that thing, because the assignments might look simple, but at the end of the day, you're running helter skelter. One thing you also need to use is most universities in the UK have the facility that you could pre-submit your work to them to check for you. In in my university, it's called I think it's called Unibody or something. A group, another people outside the lecturer, outside the examiner, who can look at your work and give you feedback before you submit the main job. And you can only get that if you work with time. Because if you don't work with time, if you're running late, you don't even have time to submit to them to check your work before you maybe make the corrections. And some courses also allow you, maybe if you're doing something like research methodology or something, they will give you the option to pre-submit to them. They will see it and get back to you. So use those facilities. Those things are there. They will help you. I'll also remind you that there are certain facilities in your school that you may not be aware of. For instance, when I was doing my master's, I needed a high power laptop. I didn't know I could access that from the university. I had gone to order a laptop, which was not that powerful, but that was what I could afford. I got the laptop, but somewhere into the course, I spoke with somebody and he told me, no, you can actually ask the school to give you a machine that you will use for your coursework. Find out if that tool is available in your institution and make use of it. All those things are available for you. There are also other services, mental health counseling that is available for you. If you feel overwhelmed, you know where we come from, we don't pay attention to our mental health. We don't know that sometimes problems will try to bamboozle you. So if you feel overwhelmed, talk to mental health and well-being counselors in your university. They are there. They don't discriminate. They will answer you. One of the resources you will also need to use is the academic guidance in your school that will help you. They help me with things like packaging your CV, telling you about job opportunities and other things in university. So use the resources that you have been given in your school very well, and you will not know until you go to look for it on the on your platforms. So, okay, yeah, I was on the other page where I was really talking about other things offered here. So, leverage campus resources, the writing centers, libraries, academic advisors, use all those things. You also have access to Turnitin. Turnitin is a platform that helps you to check your plagiarism, to check whether you have unintentionally copied somebody's work without referencing. The way it works by institution is that you submit it to Turnitin, it gives you back a report and tells you where it looks like you have copied somebody's work. But if it gives you those reports and you're confident that you have referenced properly, that means you're good. So you see the areas, use plagiarism checkers before you submit your work so that it's not the lecturer that will find out that you have plagiarized. You will find it out before. you submit yourself. Then keep accurate records of all your data and methodologies. These things sound bogus in the ears like methodologies. Methodologies is simply how did you do this thing? How did you do this thing? So when you're carrying out a research, be writing it down in the plain English, the way you understand it. I interviewed three people. Just write it like that. I interviewed three people. Be keeping those records first because when you want to write, that's when you see that those volumes of information that you've gathered through your research, they're important. Report honestly, report your findings honestly. There is no, there's no supposed to be like a rigid expected outcome for a research. You can start a research and the research takes you through another direction or gives you a result that is different from what you were expecting. That is a good research. I remember some of the lecturers that will tell you that the reason they are giving you this assignment when we're trying to crack some passwords and do all of that, if you, that's to tell you that in real life, sometimes you try to hack into a system and you fail. You cannot hack into the system. So while doing your assessment, and what happened is that you're not able to hack into the system. Write everything down. Just write a good record of everything you did and how you did it. Ask when in doubt. When you're in doubt of anything, send an email to your professor or to your teaching assistant. Send a Teams chat to the person. Try to clarify issues before you submit your work to be sure that everything is in order. That's the way to avoid any form of academic misconduct and uphold academic integrity in the UK. Uh,
I have a quick presentation just to back up what Sylvester has mentioned. Coincidentally, there was a research that I was involved in recently, and the research was prompted by the fact that international students were performing really poorly. So, and we wanted as lecturers to look at why that is happening. We took different measures and we interviewed the students themselves and come up with some, tools, innovative tools to improve their performance. I'm not going to share all the research, obviously, because it's going to be quick. Also, yeah, some of them are not relevant and maybe private as well. So I'm just going to share some of it that um, you know that I think are relevant to you. So improving the performance of international students. Most of these international students that were studied, they were Asian anyway, but yeah, I think the concept is similar. Oh, so I have introduced myself before. Francis, I'm a lecturer of cybersecurity at Bad Spa University here in the UK. And I'm also the director at Show.bit. That's like a cybersecurity company. Before now, I was at University College Dublin in Ireland. And before then, I was working for the BMW Group and CTW in Portugal. So I think that's a quick overview. Most like my master's and scholarship, the PhD, they were all done in scholarships. And for my master's, that was from Nigeria as well. I came here, did it, and then went back, worked a little bit because on the bond it says that I needed to come back, so I had to go back and then do some work. Then applied for other scholarship, then went to do the PhD. At some point, that scholarship stopped. Then I had to also then apply for other scholarships in Portugal and stuff. So there are lots of experience in this area. And if you have any question relating to scholarships and stuff like that, you can always ping me, send me an email, and we can chat. So the goal of the study, like I said, is to better support the MSc students. They're international, okay? Their performance were very poor, okay, by our assessment, and we needed to then find ways to help them improve. For example, about more than half of them were failing some of the modules, so 52% failure rate for some modules. You can say that that's high, okay, for that cohort of students. that were studied. Okay. And why were they failing? It comes down to what Sylvester was talking about, academic misconduct. Okay. So 54% of those that failed because of academic misconduct. And the other ones that didn't fail may have also been affected by academic misconduct. Because in some cases, what lecturers do is if I give you assignment and then you go to large language model or ChatGPT, put the question there as prompt and fetch things and then submit to me. I'm going to read it and it's going to be like gibberish. Like sometimes it makes sense, but it's not personalized. So I tell my students, personalize what you're writing. I want to know that this thing is written by you, not ChatGPT, because I have legitimate reasons to doubt that it may not be you. So you should convince me that this is somebody writing, not ChatGPT. So some lecturers, if they have strong conviction, obviously, like Sylvester mentioned, there are tools that you can use to detect this. Those tools are not 100% perfect all the time. There are also like the Turnitin, which everybody knows. Okay. Um, those are there to guide the lecturers, but ultimately, it's the lecturer that will determine whether you know that holds. So let's say you write your assignment and you submit it, and it says maybe high score for plagiarism. In some cases, it may not automatically mean anything. The lecturer will go there and see, oh, okay, this is where this is coming from, this is where this is coming from, and this is why. So therefore, I'm going to ignore this because of blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that means that maybe it's coming from references. You've used common references with other people, and that's why it's flagging it. Or the assessment that was given were very similar. So maybe you were in group, and because you were in group, you kind of did something similar, and the Turnitin is flagging it. So they can ignore that. But in general, academic misconduct was one of the reasons why many of the students failed. If you fail, I don't expect anybody here to fail any module, okay? But if somebody fails a module, they will, in most cases, be given the opportunity to submit it the second time. When you submit it the second time, you can at most score 50. So the mark is going to be capped at 50, okay? So if you do very, very well, then you score 50. If you don't do well, then maybe you fail again. So this chart here is saying that 27% of the students also fail again, okay, when they are given the chance to submit it again. And again, some of them fail because they're not, due to academic misconduct or just in general poor skills in writing, in writing up their reports. So those are some of the things they identified as the challenge. So it's important to try to, you know, refresh your memory on how to write good report. So obviously for the research, like I said, lots of methods were used and stuff like that, but that's not important. I'm just going to skip that and tell you what the outcome of it was. After we've done all of those, um, we improved the student performance of that cohort that were studied, okay? The student performance was improved, and like more than 85% of them were now passing. Okay, but there were still some that were still, you know, getting involved with academic misconduct and still failing. All right, so it means that even trying to follow up and do that didn't solve it 100%. Nonetheless, you can see that 85 is a lot better than the percentage that was presented earlier on. So, the lecturers that were involved in the study, say that some of the students passed mainly because they went back and reviewed the feedback they got on their drafts. So, what does that mean? Um, it means that you can actually ask your lecturer or maybe demonstrator or teaching assistant whether they are available to have a look at your draft before you submit it. Okay. So if they give you the go ahead to submit to them, you know, then they can take a look at the report at the draft and tell you, okay, maybe you need to make these changes, that changes also. And then when you make those changes, you stand a better chance. That's what happened in that research. Okay. So the students were allowed to submit drafts and lecturers gave them feedback on their drafts. Okay. So they went ahead to implement those feedback that they were given, and then, obviously they passed, right? So Sylvester also mentioned that such tools are available. What can you do then? Okay, you can take advantage of it. Ask your lecturers, ask your TAs if they are available to have a look at your draft. Okay, so don't be afraid to communicate. Here, there is really there's no hierarchy. Okay, you are the same with the lecturers. So call them by their first names and then ask them questions that you want to ask. So if I was teaching you, it's hello, Francis. Are you happy to look at my draft just to see if there are things that I need to change? That is good enough. And then you wait for the response. If they say yes, you go ahead, attach it. They will take a look, give you feedback, and before you then actually submit. You need to show up to classes, okay? And you need to show commitment. Ask questions when you think you have one. Pay attention, visibly pay attention so that the lecturer know that you're following. Um, like I said earlier, ask for feedback when you can, okay? On your reports, but also any other thing, anything that you need feedback upon, feel free to ask those feedback. And in terms of avoiding plagiarism and stuff, one shortcut is simply to just do the work. We used to say that students, they put in a lot of work to stop plagiarism, to manipulate words, to paraphrase things, to hide plagiarism. And in our opinion, we think that if they put in half of that work writing the report themselves, they wouldn't have to worry about plagiarism because if you write it, it will not flag. It will be zero, like not zero, obviously, because you're using references, but it will be low. And if it's low, you don't have any problem. So just do the work, just do your writing, feel comfortable, don't be afraid. If when you get ideas from some other sources, cite them up and things like that. That's just what you need to do. And yeah, good luck. It may sound like a lot. It may sound like you need to be perfect or whatever. No, when you just do the work, work hard. If you have got this scholarship, I believe that you've worked hard in your maybe undergraduate or maybe previous degrees. And now, if you replicate the same thing, Nigerians are very resilient. We are known to do well, even abroad. Okay. So if you replicate the same thing here, I'm sure that you're going to do even better. All right. So there is no panic. There is no issues at all. Just put in your best. If you have any question, ask people. Feel free to ask. There is no sir here. There is no chairman or anything. Everybody is just happy to be called by their first name, and everybody is approachable. So you don't need to be hesitant or anything like that. So I just want to wish everybody good luck and welcome to the UK.